this is Miss Cairo here. We're on lesson 4-8, page 141 in your book. Please have that open and ready. And the heading on this page says practice multiplying decimal numbers greater than 1. We're going to follow the same procedures that we've been practicing, in which we ignore the decimals and solve as if they are whole numbers, and then go back and count the number of decimal places on our factors and make sure our product has the same amount of decimal places in our answers. So before we get started, remember we have mastered multiplying multiple digit numbers or multi-digit numbers by a multi-digit number in 5th grade by now. And we know how to do this using 3 different methods. We can multiply using place value rows method, the place value sections method, and the shortcut method. I'm going to encourage you, use whatever method works best for you on page 141 and 142 today. And you must be able to solve it at least using one of these ways. Do not use a calculator. We know that you have your calculators ready and available for you on your computers, but the whole point of doing problems like this is, can you do them without a calculator? Okay. The one I'm going to be doing to solve for the first one is the shortcut method. This is the one that I always is my go-to method because it's the shortest and easiest one to do. It's the least amount of time. So let's take a look in our book, page 141. I'm going to guide you through, and we're going to solve number 4 together. And again, this is pretty much review from the last few lessons, so you may be working maybe one step ahead of me with some of these problems, and that's totally fine. So number 4, what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite out the problem on our whiteboards. That way we have enough room and we can easily space out our digits. So let's rewrite it. It's 8 7/10 times 53 hundredths. And the first step that we're going to do to solve this problem is we're going to ignore the decimals and act as if they're whole numbers to multiply. So on the side here, 8 7/10 without a decimal is 87, and 53 hundredths without a decimal is just 53. Do you see how I dropped the 0 there? If I were to write the 0 in with this number, 53, we wouldn't have any zeros to the right of it. That could just be dropped and just have a 5 and a 3 and the 10s in the 1 spot. Okay, let's use the shortcut method to solve. I'll get you started. We're going to multiply 87 times 3 for our first row. So starting in the 1 spot, 7 times 3 is 21. Remember, you can only put 1 digit in at a time. We're going to put our 1 into our product, and we're going to carry that 2 over to our 10 spot above the 8. Okay? And now we have 8 times 3 plus 2. Well, 8 times 3 is 24 plus 2 gives us 26. And since that's our last multiplication step to do for our line, we're going to write both digits into our product, and we have 87 times 3 is 261. Does your whiteboard look like mine? Great. Our next step, we're going to cross out this 2. We're not going to need this for this next step. We're going to be multiplying what is 87 times 50. So there's going to be basically an invisible 0 here. Since 50 has a 0 in its 1 spot, we know there's going to be a 0 in our product. So we're going to put a 0 in our 1 spot on the next row. And we're going to multiply out 87 times 5, starting with our 1 spot. 5 times 7 equals 35. We put a 3 above the 8 and a 5 in our 10 spot on the second row partial product. And I would like you to continue on your own. Can you finish solving this correctly? The next step would have been to multiply 8 times 5. 8 is in the 10 spot times this 5 in the 10 spot. 8 times 5 is 40 plus 3 equals 43. I'm making sure all my digits are nicely lined up, making it easy peasy for me to add. 261 plus 4,350 is 4,611. I'm not going to put a comma into my answer because we are not done. The next step with these problems is counting how many decimal places are there in both of our factors. So let's go back to the original problem. How many decimal places does 8 and 7/10 have? 1. How many decimal places does 53/100 have? We look at the decimal. Anything to the right, we underline, and I have 2 decimal places for this factor. 1 decimal place plus 2 decimal places gives us a total of 3 decimal places with our factors. However many decimal places there are up here has to be the same number of decimal places in our product. So to add in 3 decimal places into 4,611, we start all the way on the right. We're going to underline our way over, and then once we reach 3 decimal places, we're going to add in a decimal. So let's start with this one over here. Underline that. That's 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, and 3 decimal places. And then our decimal goes in front in between the digit 4 and 6. And now we have as our answer 4 and 611 thousandths, 3 decimal places. Go ahead and add that answer into your book. And we just successfully solved using the shortcut method. Okay, go ahead and erase your whiteboard. We're gonna work our way over. Let's do number 5 together, and we're gonna use the place value rows method here, where we keep one digit the same and we break the other factor into its place values in order to solve. So let's rewrite the problem. 4 and 7/10 times 6 and 3/10 on our whiteboard, nice and small. Is that on your whiteboard? Remember, our first step is we're going to ignore the decimals and rewrite it as a whole number and then solve and then deal with the decimal places later. So rewriting the problem without decimals gives us 47 times 63. Go ahead and write that out on your whiteboard. We're going to use place value rows to solve. So on your whiteboard, fairly large rectangle, go ahead and draw it out. At the very top, I'm going to use one of these digits to keep the same, or one of these factors to keep the same. Let's just do 47 at the top. And then on the side, we're going to break 63 into its place values. So, and then add them together. So that 6 represents 60. It's in the 10 spot. And then 3 ones is just 3. 60 plus 3 gives us 63. We're going to draw a line to separate the 2 partial products, or the 2 multiplication problems we're going to solve. And let me quickly get you set up. For the first box, we're going to multiply what is 47 times 60. I'm already previewing and seeing there's a 0 in one of our factors at the end. So that means there's going to be a 0 in the one spot in our product. And then this one, just getting you guys set up, 47 times 3. Hopefully easy peasy. You're going to multiply both these multiplication problems. You're going to get 2 different answers, 2 different products, and you're going to add the products on the side to get a total. Does yours look like mine? Go ahead and quietly work away. What are their 2 partial products? Did you get 2,820 and 141? Are there any questions? If so, raise your hand and ask your teacher. If not, let's keep going. The next step, of course, we add the 2. Go ahead and quickly add these 2 partial products. Did you get 2,961? Great job. I'm not putting a comma in between because that's not our final answer. Our next step is we're going to go back to the original problem, 4 and 7/10 times 6 and 3/10. We're going to find out how many total decimal places are there in our factors. 2 decimal places, so how many decimal places in our product? 2. Underline, starting with the 1. The decimal should go in between the digits 9 and 6, and we get our final answer of 29 and 61/100. Go ahead and add that answer into your books. And this was using the place value rows method. Which method are you going to use to solve finishing the page?